Okay, it's Kelly Borsheim here at borsheimarts.com, and I'm coming back to my sculpture. Helping Hand is the working title, after having been away for an afternoon and evening. So the first thing to do always is to reevaluate, make sure that what I did yesterday is working, or if it's not working, what to do about it, because I have the fresh eyes now. The first thing I see is I really wish that I had put this cement thing under the sculpture yesterday, because I had left it on her side, and so there were pockets of water when I woke up this morning, and that's just annoying because it means that I can't mark on the stone until that stuff is dry. Luckily we've got a wee bit of sun and I emptied the water, so we'll see. So I look at where the shoulder I cut off is. It doesn't actually look bad from this side at all. And actually, if you lean over, you can see that your shoulder goes below where your head is. So I can, from this angle, I can do this good. Now I walked over here to see how it looks. Notice that I'm coming back at a distance, because you see things clearly when they're at a optimal viewing point. Meaning, if I'm too close, I really don't see the mistakes, the overall big picture. If I'm too far away, obviously, I can't see enough of what's going on to understand what it is I'm looking at. But I look at this from a distance and, okay, alright. The thing that bothers me the most, again, worst first, is I really screwed up with this arm from what I wanted to do, because, do you see here? It's starting to work, the length of these two. I still need to pull this down. And I need to move the arch of the back. It won't be quite here. I don't want to give him a hunchback, so I'm going to have to cut this down a little bit so that he doesn't have that if he were to stand up properly. But the thing that annoys me is this forearm. I have taken out a lot of the curve so it doesn't look like a broken bone or a curvy bone, but it's so horizontal I feel like it stops the action, because horizontals make you feel at rest. Verticals give you stability, like the architecture and the feeling of strength and solidity, and the diagonals are where all your actions happen. I had envisioned a movement where he's actually pulling her up, so the horizontal line kind of breaks that energy for me. But you know, I screwed up when I cut this part of the rock, and I have to live with that. So anyway, I mean, I suppose I could throw this rock aside, but some part of me is going, no, just go forward with it and see if you can make something happen, and maybe it won't look so bad when it's done. But sometimes the not so look so bad when it's done is sort of a justification for bad behavior. But I did wake up in the night thinking, I am going to put a hole through here and up through there. One, because I like the drainage, but mostly I really like the holes in rock because it makes the light fall through the figures in beautiful ways, and you wouldn't get that effect if it were solid. And I know that means I'm going to have to polish it, or heck, maybe I just leave it raw like this and let it look quite different when it's raining. But in any event, I'm going to keep going on with this, but I'll use my white chalk to mark down how I want the curve of the shoulder, and I'll cut a wee bit more off here, and I may start to shape his head as I go along. But slowly this will be cut into as I'm really comfortable about where these are. And to get rid of this long straightness here, I may try to shape the hand a little bit more and give that, maybe go in at the wrist a little, down a little bit more, to give some angle to that and see what I can pull off without making him too thin. Because as you can tell, I've made the figures quite chunky, so it's a little bit odd to have chunk and then nothing for limbs. So we'll see how it goes. Anyway, thanks for following. Okay, I'm reevaluating again, and I can see that the shoulder's starting to come down, but I want to check from this point of view. And when I go into the back, I feel like this sloping down, it's okay, but this is just too, it's too up there. Maybe I'm moving the back with the green door in the back, you can see better. But of course, as I change my point of view. So I feel like I don't want these necessarily even, but depending on where I view the back here, it doesn't seem like a man twisting. So I either need to really twist his torso more by lowering this, but in this case I kind of think I don't have the room for that, and I need to remove this. So I'm thinking about removing this part here. The problem is that as I walk around, I have to remember the line that I wanted before with this. And I really, really enjoy the C-curve that I have here. So I don't want to take out so much of the top C-curve that I lose the view on this side, because maybe I screw up one side, but maybe another side is pretty. And maybe that'll save the piece, at least for me to keep it for myself, because that may be the way it works out. But anyway, I like that. But would it be okay if I did something? Would I be able to remove maybe just on this part? I want to keep the hump of the rib cage, where the rib cage is the broadest, which is right about here. His rib cage is going to be going here. His little egg shape, see? So that really needs to be high. I can afford to go low here, and maybe I can afford to lose some arm here, so I could maybe lower both of them. Maybe that would be a good solution, because lowering this also would help me keep the C-curve here. Do you see? Keep it all round going. And now when I look at this, I also see something I don't like at all. And I hope it's still salvageable. But do you see the arm here, the upper arm? From there to there? That's too rectangular. The deltoid really needs to be bigger than the tapering, the arm tapering to towards the elbow. So I'm kind of annoyed with that, because I don't like these things that don't change. They're boring and they're not accurate, and I wanted a nice flow of things, so I'm going to have to figure out to make sure I don't lose anything here. And maybe it'll be coming in here as well, but I'm also afraid of making this too vertical and that too horizontal as I did the other side, and then I might have to hurt myself. So, anyway, I'm going to keep going through this, but again, my point really is before I make a cut, I really walk around the piece to make sure if it interferes with any other line that I've been working on and developing and that I want, and then decide what's the less of two evils, I guess, or what's the most pretty of the things, and what helps the idea the most. I really like this side a lot, because you see his back leg, you see her legs, you understand a little bit more about what is the whole form on this. But I like to have all the sides look cool. That's the whole point of sculpture, isn't it? Anyway, and so here, I've got a John Bologna butt started, so I haven't really developed that yet, but I kind of want to see how the rest is going to go, which is unusual, because usually I do the hips first and relate other things to it. But usually you'd worry about the details of the backside once you know the symmetry of the figure, because otherwise you might have a crack in a wrong place, and that's just not pretty. I've made a couple decisions here. I do want to put a hole in between the figures, probably tomorrow, since I'm losing my daylight now, but I really hate this arm. So I decided I'm going to change it again, and even though this is how I mess things up with my Pinocchio, I did this, I'm going to try not to screw it up this time. But what I'm going to try to do is from this point of view here, if you can see. Gosh, maybe it's better in the shadow. Yeah. So the deltoid is here. I'm going to move the arm. This black line that I drew, this is going to be the arm going to the elbow point. I drew this circle here, meaning don't ever cut any more of this rock here. So I'm going to pull this arm in, going to the middle of the figure. I'm going to leave this because the belly of the muscle of the lower arm is towards the elbow. And then I'm going to pull this in a little bit more. So her hand is right here. And that way his arm will be going more towards her hand. And then I can come back out again for the fatness of the thumb and then push it back into her skin. So right now I'm going to pull this in a little bit, because if you don't notice this rock missing here, if I push into the piece a little bit more, but I do need to leave the belly of the muscle out here. I don't know if it's going to work. The other thing is that because I've lowered the shoulder now, before making that decision, I risk having the arm here shorter than the forearm, and see, that's not going to go. So right now it might be kind of okay, but I want to move this line a little bit lower, I think. Keep the elbow low. I don't like this horizontal butt. I can tuck a little bit in. Maybe I cut too much here, but I don't want that bend in that muscle. So I'm going to also pull this wrist a little bit smaller so that I keep a feeling of wideness at the elbow and tapering as I go down into a wrist. Let's see if I can pull this off. Yeah,